We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Trump justifies his actions on Iran by claiming Tehran was about to strike first, offers that US Navy ready to escort oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran steps up Gulf strikes while Israel launches broad wave of attacks across the country, claims to control almost all Iranian airspace. President of Finland, Dr. Alexander Stubb, arrives in India to hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on strengthening bilateral cooperation, will attend 11th Raisina dialogue in the national capital. South Africa and New Zealand lock horns in the first semi-final of the ICC T20 World Cup at Eden Gardens today. Proteas aim to extend perfection run as Kiwis seek redemption. And Holi, the festival of colours, is being celebrated across the country, bringing joy, unity, love and a spirit of togetherness. President Murmu and Prime Minister Modi extend greetings. And on to the top story this hour. US President Donald Trump on Tuesday said he believed Iran was preparing to strike first. His latest explanation for the Iran attack amid shifting accounts from the administration on why the war started.
Negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand.
Well, Trump's timeline for the Iran operation has shifted since it began. He first told the Daily Mail it could take 4 weeks or less, than told the New York Times 4 to 5 weeks. In separate remarks on Sunday and Monday, he left open the possibility that the operation could continue longer until its objectives are achieved. Earlier, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the United States launched the attack because of fears that Iran would retaliate in response to planned Israeli action against Tehran.
The United States is conducting an operation to eliminate the threat of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles and the threat posed by their Navy, particularly to naval assets. That is what it is focused on doing right now, and it's doing quite successfully. The purpose of this is to destroy that missile capability. Why does Iran want that ballistic missile capability? What they are trying to do and have been trying to do for a very long time.
Well, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the U.S. military campaign was laser-focused at dismantling Iran's offensive capacity, not pursuing regime change, though he said Iran's leadership had been dealt a severe blow. Well, U.S. President also said that most of the people he had considered as potential future leaders for Iran are now dead. His comments came as Washington continues to weigh its strategy towards Iran following heightened military tensions.
People we had in mind are dead. So, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group. They may be dead also, based on reports. So I guess you have a third wave coming in. Pretty soon we're not going to know anybody.
Well, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that nearly 9,000 Americans had evacuated West Asia following the start of U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran. Secretary Rubio also added that the State Department has been actively implementing evacuation plans in recent days, coordinating charter flights, military aircraft, and expanded commercial flight options in partnership with airlines. He also expressed confidence that the U.S. government will be able to assist all Americans who requested help departing the region, but cautioned that airspace closures could slow the pace of evacuations.
Rest assured, we are confident that we are going to be able to assist every American. As I told you right now, we have about a little over 1,500, maybe closer to 1,600 Americans requesting assistance. And we know that we're going to be able to help them. It's going to take a little time because we don't control the airspace closures. So as these opportunities begin to open up, we can act very quickly to reach them and get them out of harm.
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump said Germany had been helping out by allowing U.S. forces to access certain bases and drew a sharp contrast to the actions of Britain and Spain. His comments came as he welcomed German Chancellor Friedrich Merz to the White House on Tuesday, thanking the German leader for his support of the widening U.S.-Israel conflict against Iran.
Letting us land in certain areas, and we appreciate it. And they're just making it comfortable. We're not asking them to put boots on the ground or anything. I mean, we're just they're a respected country. I have a very good relationship with the country. We have, in particular, now with this leader, with this new leader. I think he's an excellent leader.
Well, Merz said that Germany and the United States shared a desire to get rid of Iran's current regime and said Berlin wanted to see a rapid end to the war. He later cast doubt on whether the U.S. and Israeli military strikes would spark political change in Iran, saying the plan posed some risks.
We are supporting the United States and Israel to get rid of this terrible terrorist regime, and we are looking forward to a day after, and we have to talk about the strategy. What is following after this regime is away, and we have to strategize on this entire region, and we are having a high interest in common approach and common work and what we can do, and this is important not just for the Americans. This is extremely important for Europe and extremely important for Israel and their security. So we are really looking forward to find ways how to deal about the day after.
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to impose a full U.S. trade embargo on Spain on Tuesday after the European and NATO ally refused to let the U.S. military use its bases for missions linked to strikes on Iran. Trump again referenced Spain's refusal to heed U.S. calls for all NATO members to spend 5% of their GDP on defense and added, Spain has absolutely nothing that we need.
Spain has absolutely nothing that we need other than great people. They have great people, but they don't have great leadership. And as you know, they were the only country that in NATO would not agree to go up to 5%. I don't think they would have agreed to go up to anything. They wanted to keep it at 2%, and they don't pay the 2%. So we're going to cut off all trade with Spain. We don't want anything to do with Spain.
Well, Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, Ali Bahraini, has ruled out any negotiations with the United States following joint U.S.-Israel strikes on his country.
There has been no any approach to the United States, to the President of the United States. There hasn't been any contact from our side. Now, the only language for talking with the United States is the language of defense. And for the time being, we are focused on defending our country.
Well, U.S. has severely degraded Iran's air defenses and destroyed hundreds of Iran's ballistic missiles, launchers and drones in its Operation Epic Fury. In fact, in a video message, Admiral Brad Cooper of U.S. Central Command said that the U.S. military, the American forces had struck nearly 2,000 targets so far in Iran as part of the largest firepower build-up in the region in a generation. He said the first 24 hours of this operation were nearly double the scale of the first day of shock and awe strikes on Iraq in 2003. He also informed that they are continuing with 24/7 strikes into Iran, and there is not even a single Iranian ship underway in the Arabian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz or Gulf of Oman. U.S. has destroyed 17 Iranian ships.
For decades, the Iranian regime has harassed international shipping. Today, there's not a single Iranian ship underway in the Arabian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, or Gulf of Oman, and we will not stop. We will continue to conduct dynamic targeting operations. We're hunting Iran's last remaining mobile ballistic missile launchers to eliminate what I would characterize as their lingering launch capability. Now, in retaliation, the Iranian regime has launched over 500 ballistic missiles and over 2,000 drones. To be clear, Iran is indiscriminately targeting civilians as they launch these missiles and drones. You've seen it on TV. The evidence is crystal clear and overwhelming.
Meanwhile, U.S. identified 4 American soldiers killed in the early days of the war with Iran. The soldiers were killed on 1st of March 2026 at the port of Shoaiba, Kuwait, during a drone attack. While Israel's military said it launched a broad wave of strikes on targets in Iran after the Islamic Republic fired rounds of missile barrages at Israeli territory. In the past 24 hours, hundreds of fighter jets and aircraft have been striking hundreds of targets simultaneously in Iran and Lebanon. Since the start of the operation, the Israeli Air Force has neutralized 300 Iranian missile launchers. In Isfahan, dozens of targets related to the ballistic missiles array, including launchers and missile storage sites, were struck by Israel. Well, Israel also hit the covert Minzadehi compound that was used by a group of nuclear scientists who operated to develop a key component for nuclear weapons. It said that the IDF tracked the activities at this new location, removing a key component of the Iranian regime's capability to develop nuclear weapons. Also, the Israeli military said it had deployed troops to several locations in southern Lebanon in what it described as a forward defense measure along the border. It struck weapons storage facilities, missile launchers, command centers, and additional terrorist infrastructure belonging to the Hezbollah and Hamas terrorist organizations in the Tyre and Sidon areas. Well, meanwhile, Iran has launched over 500 ballistic missiles and over 2,000 drones in retaliatory attacks so far as per the reports. Israel intercepted missiles over Jerusalem, West Bank and Tel Aviv. The Central Intelligence Agency stationed at the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia was also hit. The embassy, which is located in the Saudi capital of Riyadh, is among the U.S. sites that have been hit so far in the conflict. Washington's mission in the kingdom subsequently warned Americans to avoid the embassy until further notice due to an attack on the facility. Well, France is sending its flagship aircraft carrier to the Mediterranean in response to the widening conflict in the Middle East, President Emmanuel Macron announced. The Charles de Gaulle carrier has been pulled out of a deployment in the North Atlantic to head for the Eastern Mediterranean. It made a stopover in the Swedish port of Malmö last week. Britain's Defence Ministry also released images of F-35 jets shooting down a drone in Jordanian airspace and F-35 and Typhoon jets taking off from the British Royal Air Force base of Akrotiri in Cyprus for operations in West Asia. This comes after the Akrotiri base was hit by a drone. Well, the Gulf countries have also been engulfed in the war. Smoke was seen rising from the oil industry zone in Fujairah, a major bunkering hub in the United Arab Emirates, as the country continues to grapple with escalating Iran conflict. A large plume of smoke was seen rising over the U.S. consulate in Dubai. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also confirmed the hit and said that all consulate personnel were accounted for. Well, Qatar, which hosts a major U.S. military base and has been targeted by multiple Iranian strikes since the outbreak of the war, 10 suspects were arrested who admitted during the investigation their links to the Revolutionary Guards and having been instructed to conduct espionage and sabotage activities. Well, West Asia analyst Badr Al-Saif said European nations need to extend greater support to their Gulf partners. He stressed that backing the region does not mean joining the war, but requires Europe to clearly signal its position instead of relying on the United States.
We cannot depend on the U.S. for main security guarantees. And here, the Gulf states, and I sit in Kuwait City, but the Gulf states in Europe share that we've long depended on the U.S. and their defense mechanism. And I think it behooves us to strike a more independent path and probably even strengthen our ties as middle powers between the EU and the Gulf, something that we've already started doing. So I think, yes, increase defense spendings, but also increase partnerships across the board that includes the U.S., but not only the U.S.
And time now for a short break. We'll be back in a while. Welcome back. You're watching T20 News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to 3 more leaders from the Gulf region on Tuesday. He held a phone call with the Sultan of Oman, Haytham bin Tariq. He had a conversation with the Crown Prince of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah Al Khalid Al Hamad Al Mubarak Al Sabah. In both discussions, the Prime Minister expressed concern at the attacks against them and discussed about the welfare and security of the Indian community living there. Also, Prime Minister Modi spoke to the Amir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. He condemned the attacks on Qatar and thanked the Qatari leader for support and care of the Indian community. In the last 48 hours, the Prime Minister has spoken to 8 leaders of the Gulf nations. Also, Ministry of External Affairs has expressed deep concern at the commencement of the conflict in Iran and the Gulf region on 28th of February. It said that India had urged all sides to exercise restraint, avoid escalation and prioritize the safety of civilians. But unfortunately, in the holy month of Ramzan, the situation in the region has deteriorated significantly and continuously. The destruction and deaths have mounted even as normal life and economic activities come to a halt. There are almost 10 million Indian citizens who live and work in the Gulf region. Their safety and well-being is of utmost priority. Any major disruption has serious consequences for the Indian economy as well. As a country whose nationals are prominent in the global workforce, India is also firmly opposed to attacks on merchant shipping, where some Indian nationals lost their lives or are missing. Also, India reiterates its call for dialogue and diplomacy. Indian embassies and consulates in the affected countries are in close touch with Indian nationals and community organizations. The Prime Minister and External Affairs Ministers have said that discussions with their counterparts in the Gulf region is going on. The statement added that the government will continue to closely monitor the evolving situation and take a relevant decision in the national interest. And the news just coming in, a control room has been set up in the Ministry of External Affairs in view of the current situation in West Asia and the Gulf region. The control room can be contacted from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. at 1-800-11-8797. I repeat, 1-800-11-8797. And the other numbers are +91 11 2301 2113. +91 11 2301 4104 and +91 11 2301 7905. Well, the emergency contact numbers of Indian embassies in the region issued. The numbers are up on your screen. And for more on the crisis, we have Akhilesh Suman joining us. Well, Akhilesh, as the situation is escalating and India is strongly reiterating its call for dialogue and diplomacy. In fact, in the last 48 hours, Prime Minister spoke to 8 leaders of the Gulf nations, with India closely monitoring evolving situation.
Yes, Nipakshi, it is a really terrible situation. I myself is getting so many calls from people, acquaintances, friends who are staying in Gulf countries. They are afraid. They are scared of whether their life is secure and safe or not. So I think that, so many migrants, 10 million Indians are living there in the Gulf region, and they are not refugees. They are real workers. They are contributing in the development of those regions, and they have no security. So in that situation, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Affairs Jaishankar has been talking to leaders in the Gulf to ensure the security and safety of the Indians who are living there. So I think that in that endeavor, only you have seen that some flights have started coming from the Gulf regions to Indian different, airports like in Mumbai and Delhi. Someone may also come on Amritsar. So I think the whole reason of talking to them is not to escalate, requesting them not to escalate the fight between Iran and the Gulf nation, because Israel and US are already in the war. The Middle Eastern countries should not join this war so that it can escalate more, and then the losses will be much more than it is now. Till now, that on the declaration side, you can say that Iranians have declared that they will, attack the American bases only, but their attacks are also on civilians. So it should not increase. And if retaliatory action are taken from the Gulf side against the Iranians, it will escalate more. So that is the reason why Prime Minister Narendra Modi is telling that use the dialogue and diplomacy methods to resolve the issue, because there has been enough of conflict in the world. We have been seeing right from Russia, Ukraine to Gaza, Israel, and now it has come to Iran versus others. So in that situation, I think India is the only country who is talking so openly to keep restraint by all the parties, all the relevant related parties. And in that way, I think that is the best way to intervene in this present situation, because earlier you have seen that External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar also took to European Union counterpart Kaja Kallas, and he also requested Kaja Kallas to use European Union influence over the Gulf region so that the war does not escalate. But the major million-dollar question is that who will talk to Donald Trump, because it is Donald Trump who is, leading the war, and who is, giving direction to the war, and he is telling that the war will continue for 4 or 5 weeks, and if it required more than that. So I think the whole world is at a stalemate now. Whole world is just becoming witness of some situation that is out of their control, and that is why the German Chancellor was there in Washington D.C. yesterday, right, and he talked to President Donald Trump. French are also now started taking steps so that it should not escalate inside the European Union. You have seen that Cyprus has already been attacked by Iran. Naturally, Iran is in desperation, and they are attacking anywhere possible. They have threatened that Europe should not join this war, otherwise we will also direct our attack. So in that situation, I think all parties need to come forward, and that is why I think talks have started taking place between Germany and Donald Trump. And now let us see that whether other leaders also go there and talk to Donald Trump, because there has been a tariff war between Europe and America too. And that is why there is a distance between Europe and America in this point of time. And you see that NATO
right,
is not on board with America in this point of time. European Union is not on board with America in this point of time. So there is disjointed situation in the whole world. So I think if someone goes and talks to Donald Trump, but in what way Donald Trump is being persuaded, it is $1 billion question to
absolutely see. Thank you so much, Akhilesh, for all those details. Well, amid escalating tensions in West Asia, the Indian government has set up an inter-ministerial group to monitor developments in West Asia on a daily basis and assess potential vulnerabilities in shipping, logistics, exports and critical imports. The government is closely monitoring the evolving maritime security situation in the Persian Gulf and has strengthened precautionary measures to safeguard Indian-flagged vessels and Indian seafarers operating in the region. Here's a report.
In a significant development amid the ongoing West Asia conflict, the Indian government has set up an interministerial group which is closely monitoring developments in West Asia on a daily basis. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal on Tuesday said that the interministerial group will assess any vulnerabilities in shipping, logistics, export, and even critical imports and will coordinate with interministerial actions. Amid the evolving geopolitical situation, India's Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister Hardeep Singh Puri on Tuesday said that India is well stocked with crude oil and inventories on key petroleum products including petrol, diesel and ATF to deal with short-term disruptions arising from West Asia. As the situation remains volatile, Air India on Tuesday welcomed passengers and crew arriving from Dubai on board flight at Indira Gandhi International Airport in New Delhi. This marked the first international arrival by an Indian carrier into the national capital carrying 149 passengers and 8 operating crew members. Indian citizens who arrived in New Delhi and Mumbai on Tuesday thanked the Indian and UAE governments for their support.
Of course, when you hear the noises, you feel scared, but otherwise, there was life as normal and we felt very safe. The government did every way to make us residents, feel safe or tourists feel safe.
You are scared unless and until you are on your motherland. It is scary. You think कि नहीं यार situation यहाँ से बिगड़ सकती है.
Meanwhile, more than 250 flights were cancelled at Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru and Chennai airports on Tuesday due to the West Asia conflict. For the fourth day, flight operations continued to be disrupted as airlines cancelled flights amid the escalating conflict involving the United States, Israel and Iran. According to officials, as many as 80 flights were cancelled at the Delhi airport, while 107 services were cancelled at the Mumbai airport. Some airlines, including Emirates, have partially started operations to and from West Asia. India's Directorate General of Shipping in a statement has informed that 3 Indian seafarers serving on board foreign flagged vessels were killed and 1 person was injured amid the escalating tensions in the West Asia region. The Directorate General of Shipping said there have been 4 incidents in the Persian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, Gulf of Oman, and adjoining sea areas involving Indian seafarers. Due to the heightened risk perception in Tehran city, the Embassy of India in Iran has relocated most Indian students who were in Tehran to safer locations outside the city. In an advisory, the embassy said it has made arrangements for their transportation, food, and accommodation. It added that only a small number of students who declined the embassy's offer remain in Tehran. Bureau Report, DD, India.
And moving on to news from Nepal now. Nepal is set to vote on 5th of March in a high-stake election. The election comes months after mass protests reshaped the country's political landscape and brought in an interim government. With nearly 19 million eligible voters, including 800,000 first-time voters, the outcome could determine Nepal's direction at a critical crossroads. DD India Siddharth Bharadwaj reports for more from Kathmandu.
I'm standing here in Kathmandu, where Nepal is gearing up for crucial elections on 5th of March. After months of political turmoil and historic leadership changes, the voters are preparing to decide the country's next chapter.
Come March 5, Nepal will go to the polls. These elections mark the first national vote since violent protests rocked the Himalayan Republic in September 2025. The significance of these polls remains high, as they will decide the future direction of the country. In fact, the youth are expected to play a pivotal role in determining who will lead the nation at a major political crossroads. On September 8, Nepal witnessed widespread protests across the country. It all began after the government imposed a ban on social media sites, citing that tech companies had failed to meet the deadline to register under new guidelines. The ban angered the country's youth, who took to the streets. However, the protests later evolved into an anti-corruption movement, ultimately resulting in the toppling of the KP Sharma Oli government. On September 12, 2025, Nepal saw history in the making when former Chief Justice Sushila Karki was sworn in as interim Prime Minister, becoming the first woman to hold the top post. According to official data, nearly 19 million Nepalis are eligible to vote, including 800,000 first-time voters. The country is divided into 7 provinces: Korsi Province, Madhesh Province, Bagmati Province, Gandaki Province, Lumbini Province, Karnali Province, and Sudur Paschim Province. Key political parties contesting the election include the RSP, Congress, UML, NCP, RPP, PSPN, Janamat, and UNP, along with several other smaller parties. The main contenders are a mix of veteran leaders and fresh faces, from former Prime Minister and leader of the Communist Party UML KP Sharma Oli to Nepali Congress leader Gagan Thapa and 35-year-old Balendra Shah, one of the most talked about figures in this election. A former rapper and civil engineer, Shah rose to prominence as a popular mayor of Kathmandu. With a mixed electoral system in the country, voters will elect 275 members of parliament through a combination of first-past-the-post voting and proportional representation. The key issues driving the vote are corruption, jobs in the economy, foreign relations, climate concerns, and local governance.
The people of Nepal are looking forward to voting in the upcoming elections with great hope. The country's next government will determine much about its future, including its political direction, foreign policy, especially in relation to its neighbors. With camera person Vishwabandhu, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj reporting for DD India in Kathmandu, Nepal.
And for more on the Nepal elections, we have Siddharth Bharadwaj joining us from Kathmandu, Nepal. Well, Siddharth, the mandatory silence period began yesterday, and with less than 24 hours now remaining before the voting starts, Nepal is preparing for its first national election since 2025 mass protests. Tell us more about the final preparations and the mood on the ground, and how are people responding as the country approaches this pivotal moment?
So, Lipakshi, these are very, very crucial and very, very important elections, because 19 million voters this time, they are eligible voters. They would be heading to the polls on 5th of March. And among them, 800,000 voters are the first-time voters. So the mood here, and especially, among the youth, is very, very high. It's very, very vibrant and exciting because they are saying that they are voting this time around because they expect a change, when it comes to the next government. They want a good governance. They want the government to focus on the youth. They want government to actually generate more and more employment and opportunity for the youth so that they don't have to leave their country and they can work here as well. Everything started. These are in fact the first elections the party, as we've also told viewers, after September last year when the protests rocked the country. These are the protests which initially started when the government put a ban on social media, but then later on they evolved into an anti-corruption movement. Since then, the country took a hit when it comes to its economic situation and political stability as well. So these elections will give a direction to the country and at the same time will revive its economy and relations with the foreign countries as well. So in this perspective, these are very, very crucial elections. When we have a word with the youth, they are saying that they need a change. They want the next government to focus on the youth. They also want the next government to focus on the climate change as well. This is also one of the issues which the youth of the country were addressing. So from that perspective, very, very crucial elections. We also saw intense campaigning for about 15 days where political leaders of the big parties tried to woo the voters and promised them that they will make the country corruption-free and also assured all the people of good governance. But these are very, very different elections. You cannot just compare them to the elections which happened earlier in the country. Because this time around, the dynamics have shifted, the dynamics have changed, in fact, and youth play a very pivotal and key role in these elections. So it's very difficult to say right now that who will, emerge as the leader of the country, which party will win these elections, because, the dynamics have shifted, and it's very difficult to say this time. But then the thing is that people are having a lot of expectations after a lot of political turmoil in the country because of the protests last year. So in that manner, these elections are very, very crucial. And yeah, like I said, youth again will play a very, very important role in these elections of House of Representatives.
So all set for Nepal, who's supposed to elect 275 lawmakers under a mixed electoral system tomorrow. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for all that information, and we'll keep taking updates from you as the day progresses. And time now for a short break. We'll be back in a while.
This week on Defense Dynamics, does the Indian Air Force need a fifth-generation fighter now to counter China's Chengdu J-20? With AMCA still in the pipeline, we weigh the pros and cons of the F-35 Lightning II and Sukhoi Su-57. We decode Israel's air defense shield, Iron Dome, David's Sling and Arrow, and what India can learn from it. India inducts INS Anjadeep, boosting coastal anti-submarine capability, why it matters. Catch the full analysis this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. President of Finland, Dr. Alexander Stubb, arrived in India on a 4-day visit. Upon his arrival, President of Finland, Stubb, being welcomed with a guard of honor. Well, President Stubb will be the chief guest and keynote speaker at the 11th Raisina Dialogue 2026 in New Delhi. This will be the first visit of President Stubb to India in his present capacity. During the visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Alexander Stubb will hold discussions on strengthening bilateral cooperation across a wide spectrum of areas. They will also exchange perspectives on regional and global issues of mutual interest, including cooperation in multilateral fora. President Stubb will meet President of India, Draupadi Murmu, Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. President Stubb will thereafter visit Mumbai, where he will interact with Indian business leaders and attend an India-Finland business event. Well, India and Finland share warm, friendly and multifaceted relations rooted in shared democratic values. Finland is a valued partner for India and the European Union and the Nordic region. And today, millions of people are celebrating Holi, the festival of colors in India and across the world. Well, President of India, Draupadi Murmu, sends her greetings to fellow citizens on Holi. In a message shared on social media platform X, the President wrote, and I quote, "Heartfelt Holi greetings to all my fellow citizens from my side. This festival of colors infuses love and hope into people's lives and strengthens mutual unity and brotherhood. My wish is that this festival brings happiness into everyone's life and that we all together contribute to building a developed nation," unquote. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended his greetings on the occasion of Holi. In a post on X, he wrote, and I quote, "Heartfelt Holi greetings to all my fellow citizens. May this festival, brimming with colors and exuberance, bring a shower of joy to everyone. May every life be sprinkled with the hues of happiness, prosperity and success. This is my heartfelt wish," unquote. And for more on Holi, we are joined by Subina Roy from Dibrugarh, Assam, and Meghna Dev from Ahmedabad. Well, Subina, very warm greetings to Holi or for Holi to both of you. Subina, how are people across Assam celebrating Holi and Dol Jatra this year? Tell us the significance also there being celebrated.
Right. A very happy Holi to all of you, to the DD India viewers as well. Holi Dol Utsav is one of the most significant festivals of Assam. Since it was started, the Dol Utsav, the Holi Utsav was started in Assam by Srimanto Shankar Dev, where a place in Nagaon, Botro Devodhan, where he was born. It is celebrated widely. And it was during his time, that there was a lot of non-violence fighting among different tribes. And that's when he started the movement of Ek Sharan Nam Dharma, one God, formless God, which ushered in the movement of new Vaishnavite movement, and that's how whole Holi Utsav came into being. Now, there are few places, Lepakshi, in Assam, where Dol Utsav has become a heritage, and one of them is the Borpeta Dol Utsav, where Dol Utsav is considered to be the second Vaikunth. Like Holi is a heavenly festival, and it is in Borpeta, which is considered as the second Vaikunth. And here it is a 5-day festival where the first day is celebrated as the Gondha Utsav or the Ban Utsav, where, the Meji, like there is Holika Dahan in other parts of India. So here in Assam, you burn the Meji, where, offerings are made, and the Lord Sri Krishna is given a parikrama around the fire 7 times, and then the people sing Nam Kirtans with their dhols and the traditional musical instruments. And then the second day is known as Bordol, where processions is taking out, singing Nam Kirtans, and people playing colors, offering all colors to God. And yesterday, due to the lunar eclipse, the temple was closed from 3:20 p.m. to 7 p.m. However, Holi Utsav continues, and today is the Fakwa. Now, today people will be playing Holi across, and different communities all across Assam are playing Holi, Lipakshi, since it is a local holiday declared here in Assam. And people from across communities, across religions are celebrating
Holi
today.
fervor all around. Also, Meghna, give us the feel of Holi in Ahmedabad.
Yes, Lapakshi, a very happy Holi to our viewers, and we are here in Ahmedabad. We have been seeing that in Ahmedabad since early morning, not only in community centers, these gardens, but also a number of housing societies have organized big Holi celebrations for people who are living in the society. So that makes it even more enjoyable. Not only this, when we actually see the Jagannath temple in Ahmedabad also in the morning, Holi was played. Besides that, in Gujarat, if we talk about, Dwarka is one place where people specifically go to celebrate Holi because it is the Sri Krishna, the Dwarka temple is there. So that is why people specifically go to Dwarka and enjoy Holi there. But we are here in Ahmedabad with many people around who have been playing Holi since morning. We'll speak to a few of them. How is this Holi like? What are you celebrating here? We have been seeing that number of people from your society are playing Holi, number of you with organic colors.
Yes, namaste first to your team. So, I mean, as you can see that we are having a different communities, right? We have seniors, we have kids, we have ourselves, and we play all the festivals like this. But as you know, Holi is famous for different colors, right? The way India is all about, right? So this is how we play organic, and as you know that we want to take this local to we want to be vocal to local. So we are using organic colors, and we are playing fullest, and I really wish everyone lives in harmony. So that's what I want to message.
Absolutely. We'll speak to a few more people. How are you celebrating Holi?
Here in Orchid Sky, every year, as you know, Holi is the vibrant festival of colors. So over here in Orchid Sky, people from all over India are living, from all the different states. So just like the different colors of Holi, we live here in harmony and peace, and we celebrate Holi in a very organic way. We just try to buy all the colors from our local vendors. who basically make from flowers and everything, just like it used to be played in the olden times. So in here in Ahmedabad, in Orchid Sky, every year we enjoy in peace and harmony and unity. As you can see, everybody is enjoying a lot.
Yes, I especially came from Rajkot to celebrate the Holi in Orchid Sky because we are having small India within India. In our society, we are having 715 residents all across the states, all across the India. And I especially love to celebrate in my hometown. And we are having a theme of local for vocal. We are using the organic colors and we are having color theme. We are having the bashing of the rain. And we are having recycling water system also, so we are using the used water as well.
So definitely when we actually see that, residents here are enjoying, as well as we see this across India at several locations, that how people are celebrating the Festival of Colors, not only enjoying but also very serious about how to take vocal for local forward, buying things from street vendors as well as promoting the festival economy or religious economy that we call it.
All right, so we can see people in holy fervor behind both of you. Thank you so much for all those details from there. Well, the Indian soldiers celebrated Holi high up in the mountains at 14,300 feet, spreading colors and joy. They were joined by local people who came out to play and celebrate the festival together. The event brought smiles and laughter, showing friendship and festive spirit even in the chilly, high-altitude terrain. Well, Holi was celebrated with great enthusiasm in Hyderabad's Begum Bazaar as well. The streets came alive with vibrant colors. Crowds joined in the festivities, throwing colors and enjoying the lively atmosphere. Adding extra energy to the celebrations, traditional Teen Mar dance performances thrilled the spectators, highlighting the city's rich culture and community spirit. Well, Holi is being celebrated with joy and devotion in Uttar Pradesh's Mathura, the sacred birthplace of Lord Krishna. Devotees and locals flooded the streets, throwing colors and singing traditional songs, keeping the festive spirit alive. Vibrant processions, folk dances and playful color fights filled the city, drawing crowds from across the state to join the lively celebrations. Well, the foreign leaders extended Holi greetings, celebrating cultural unity. Australian Prime Minister highlighted that Holi is a time for people of Hindu and South Asian heritage to come together in celebration of shared history, heritage and traditions. Well, time now for a short break. We'll be back in a while.
Try sounding the alarm, and when our ecosystems are under pressure, our lives are impacted too. In today's episode, we take a look at how these two are coming together to help us adapt and respond to a changing world.
When you conduct agriculture with Kadai cattle, you don't need to provide any extra materials or any other natural inputs to that field.
The AI does not see animals in the pictures, which then have to be found by humans. But also there are certain species, especially rare species, where we don't have a lot of pictures to train the AI, that the AI then cannot classify in turn.
Thanks to Santosh's information and awareness classes, that myth has disappeared. Now if we encounter a dangerous snake like a cobra, we immediately call Santosh to perform a rescue.
Welcome back. You're watching TT India News. I'm Lepakshi Kurana. Time now for some sports news. In New Zealand versus South Africa, the semi-finals ICC T20 World Cup are supposed to be done today. In the first semi-final, South Africa will take on New Zealand at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata on Wednesday. South Africa have been one of the strongest teams in the tournament so far. The Proteas are unbeaten, making them the only team with a 100% win record across both the group stage and their Super 8s. The team will now be aiming to continue the winning streak and book a place in the finals. New Zealand, on the other hand, have had a mixed campaign. Despite some ups and downs, they managed to secure a spot in the last 4. The Kiwis will be eager to take revenge for their earlier loss to South Africa and reach the final once again after finishing as runners-up in 2021. Looking at the head-to-head records, South Africa have the upper hand. Out of 19 T20 matches between the two teams, South Africa have won 12, while New Zealand have won 7. Well, the semi-finals of the ICC T20 World Cup 2026 starts today with New Zealand and South Africa locking horns. In the first semi-final, South Africa will take on New Zealand at Eden Gardens in Kolkata on Wednesday. And South Africa have been one of the strongest teams in the tournament so far. In fact, the Proteas are unbeaten, making them the only team with a 100% win record across both the group stage and also in the Super 8s. Now, the team will be aiming to continue their winning streak and book a place in the finals. New Zealand, on the other hand, have had a mixed campaign. Despite some ups and downs, they managed to secure a spot in the last 4. The Kiwis will be eager on their side to take revenge for their earlier loss to South Africa and reach the final once again after finishing as runners-up in 2021. Looking at the head-to-head records, South Africa have the upper hand, and out of 19 T20 matches between the two teams, South Africa have won 12, while New Zealand have won 7 matches. And for more on today's match, we have Narayan Singh joining us. Well, Narayan, South Africa, the unbeaten so far in the tournament. What has been the key to their consistent performance, if you talk about heading into this semi-final? And how do you see today's match?
Well, Lipakshi, you've talked about the South African team so far, unbeaten, and what a stupendous record. If we take a look in the group stages, they defeated New Zealand, and again they are meeting in the semi-final, and in the Super 8, they defeated a title favorite team like India. So we can say that they played a near perfect cricket here in this tournament. And if we take a look head-to-head between these two teams, South Africa and New Zealand, in the World Cup, in the T20 World Cup also, it is 5-0. It is in favor of the South African team. So in that context, South Africa is a clear favorite between these two teams. But if we talk about a knockout game in a semi-final, it is altogether a different ball game. If we talk about knockout game, the mindset is different, the pressure is different, and you have to approach the game in a different manner. And we know that the New Zealand team is also quite different. They are like a silent assassin, and we know that what kind of cricket they have played. They have consistently there in the knockout stages of the ICC tournament, and yet both the teams, New Zealand and South Africa, are yet to win the shortest format game trophy, and so they will like to win this trophy this time around, because both of them are still just eyeing this elusive trophy from their cabinet. So if we talk about overall, South Africa is a favorite because of their, if you talk about their bowler Marco Jansen, the kind of bowling he has delivered in this tournament, and there is going to be a matchup between the top order of the New Zealand, because their top order Tim Seifert, and if you talk about their other Rachin Ravindra, all are in good form, and they are hoping that how they will handle the pace and the bounce of the Marco Jansen. And apart from that, if you go to the New Zealand team, they are doing good in patches. They have their own ups and downs in the tournament. But I have already said knockout is a different ball game, and hope they will approach in a different manner. But South Africa, they have a strong middle order. If you take a look at their middle order, they have the player like Tristan Stubb, David Miller, and many more names who can change the game. And the most importantly, their captain, Adrian Markram, if you take a look at his record, he had scored 268 runs with a stupendous strike rate of 175. So once again, their captain will be key to their success. But I feel that here New Zealand, you can't them write off. Because they are consistently in the major tournaments, they are knocking the doors, and hopefully this time around they can turn the tables.
All right. In fact, if we talk about New Zealand, they've had a mixed campaign but have experience in big matches as well. Do you think they have what it takes to upset South Africans at Eden Gardens today?
And definitely, if we talk about New Zealand, we know that they have the experience of playing in the subcontinental condition before this World Cup. They were in India, and their last T20 series was against India, where they lost the series, but they got an immense experience of that. And before this match, this semi-final match, they played their most of the matches in Sri Lanka. And after being there for 10 days, they are finally returning here in India, and they are playing at the Eden Gardens and the Kolkata. There's a quite difference in the conditions in South Africa, in Sri Lanka and India, because the pitch in Sri Lanka was quite different, quite stacky, and the ball was just coming after too late to the bat. But here the conditions are different. The ball is nicely coming onto the bat, and they have the good hitter like Seifert and Phil Annan. We know that he is playing extraordinary cricket. Rachin Ravindra, and on the order they have Daryl Mitchell, who can also smack the ball all across the park. So this is the contest that will decide this match, is the power play. How the top order of the New Zealand plays the players like Marco Jansen, because Marco Jansen has a good height, and from the height he throws the ball. Actually, it comes at a different level with a bit more bounce. So we know that their opener Tim Seifert and the Phil Annan picks the short ball very in a proper manner. But when the bounce is a bit different, it may be difficult for them too. So the first 6 overs, the power play will decide the result of the match.
All right, Narayan, thank you so much for all those details. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Here's wishing our viewers a very happy Holi.